Let me ask you a question that might sting a little. Have you ever felt like you were giving your heart to someone, and they didn't even bother to hold it properly? You gave your time, your energy, your love, maybe even sacrificed parts of yourself, only to be treated like an option, not a priority. It hurts, doesn't it? But here's the truth no one tells you. People don't value what's given too easily. They value what they've worked for, what they respect, and what they fear losing. So today, we're going to talk about what really makes someone value you, not just like you, not just want you, but truly value you. Because when you understand this, you'll stop chasing people who don't see your worth, and you'll start attracting people who never take you for granted. One of the most misunderstood ideas in relationships is that the more you give, the more someone will love you. It's a comforting lie that many of us cling to, especially when we're emotionally invested. We believe that if we sacrifice our time, our comfort, and sometimes even our identity for someone, it will make them appreciate us more. We think if we just prove how loyal, loving, and available we are, they'll finally recognize our worth. But the truth is far more sobering. People don't value you more because of how much you sacrifice for them. They value you because of the standards you uphold. Standards are not about being demanding. They're about knowing who you are and what you deserve, and then refusing to accept anything less. When you have standards, you communicate that your time is valuable, your energy is limited, and your self-respect is non-negotiable. You send a message that while you are open to love, you're not open to being taken for granted. And that message, whether spoken or silently shown through your actions, creates value in the eyes of others. When someone sees that you're not easily swayed by charm or attention, that you don't allow yourself to be an emotional dumping ground or an on-call therapist for someone who won't even commit to you, they take notice. Why? Because the world is full of people willing to bend over backwards for someone's crumbs. But someone who moves with quiet confidence, who doesn't chase or beg, who knows how to say, "No, that doesn't work for me," that person becomes rare and in turn valuable. It's ironic, isn't it? We often think being nice all the time will make people love us more, but sometimes it makes them respect us less. There is a subtle power in knowing when to say yes and when to say, "Actually, that doesn't align with what I want." When you stand your ground with grace, not arrogance, you teach people how to treat you. You become the person who doesn't just ask for better treatment. You expect it, and you walk away when it's not given. Love isn't earned by suffering. It's earned by self-respect. It's not about proving your worth through overgiving. It's about understanding your worth so clearly that others either rise to meet it or lose access to it. People often assume that being easygoing, constantly available, and endlessly giving will naturally make others value them more. It feels intuitive. If I give more, they'll appreciate me more. But that's not how human psychology works. People don't value what they're handed without effort. They value what they've had to invest in. Emotionally, mentally, and even physically, what we put effort into becomes more meaningful to us. This is why the person who has to work to get to know you, who has to show up consistently, who has to earn your trust, is more likely to treat you with respect and appreciation. When you're always the one texting first, always planning the meetups, always initiating the emotional conversations or fixing the rough patches, you're taking on more than your share of the emotional investment. The problem with this imbalance is that it prevents the other person from actually becoming emotionally bonded with you. You're doing all the heavy lifting, and they're coasting, and then you wonder why they don't seem as committed or as serious as you are. It's not because they don't like you, it's because they haven't had to invest in you. People care about what they build. Think about anything in your life that you've worked hard for: a degree, a business, a friendship, even a fitness goal. You protect those things, nurture them, and treat them with a sense of pride because you invested so much of yourself in them. Relationships aren't any different. When someone contributes, whether it's by planning a thoughtful date, opening up emotionally, or making sacrifices to prioritize you, they naturally begin to feel more connected and committed. They become more emotionally tied to the outcome of the relationship because they have skin in the game. This is why it's so important to step back sometimes and let others come toward you. If someone's interested, they'll show it. If they care, they'll find ways to be involved. But if you're constantly filling in all the gaps, you rob them of the chance to actually participate. You become the provider of all the effort, while they become passive recipients. That's not love, it's imbalance. And imbalance always leads to one person feeling undervalued and the other feeling entitled. Let people show you who they are through their actions, not just their words. Give them the space to invest, the space to miss you, the space to contribute. That's when real value is built, not when you give everything, but when the connection becomes a shared effort. We've been conditioned to believe that being constantly present in someone's life is the ultimate expression of love. That if you're always available, always picking up the phone, always saying yes to plans, it will deepen the bond. And while consistency is important in any connection, there's a deeper truth that often gets overlooked. Sometimes it's your absence, not your presence, that creates the most impact. People can't value what they don't risk losing. And when you're always there, when you never pull back or give them space to reflect, your presence becomes expected, not appreciated. Think about it. When something is always within reach, we naturally take it for granted. It becomes part of the background noise of our lives. We stop noticing its beauty, its effort, its emotional labor. The same happens in relationships. When you never pull away, when you never say no, when you never take a step back to breathe, the other person doesn't have to imagine what life would feel like without you. They don't feel the absence. They don't get the opportunity to miss you. And missing is what amplifies appreciation. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about playing games or using silence as a punishment. It's about creating healthy space. It's about recognizing when your presence is being consumed without care or reciprocation, and allowing some distance to reset that imbalance. When you take a step back, emotionally or physically, you give the other person a moment of clarity. They begin to notice your absence. They think about the way you make them feel, the light you bring, and what life feels like without your voice in it. And that realization is powerful. Sometimes it's only in the quiet that someone truly hears what you've been saying all along. It's in the space you leave behind that they realize how much of themselves was being held up by your presence. And if they truly value you, they'll close that space quickly, they'll reach out, they'll step up. But if they don't, then that distance reveals what your presence was never going to fix. Absence isn't always a loss. Sometimes it's a necessary invitation for them to grow, for you to heal, and for the connection to evolve into something that's no longer taken for granted. There's a distinct kind of power in being someone whose life is already full before love walks in, when you're whole on your own, when you're not searching for someone to rescue you from loneliness, boredom, or a lack of purpose. You move differently. You don't approach relationships from a place of desperation, but from abundance, and that energy is magnetic. People are instinctively drawn to those who have passion, confidence, and fulfillment in their own lives because it signals emotional stability and self-respect. You're not asking someone to complete you. You're inviting them to complement an already beautiful life. When your world is already rich, with meaningful friendships, personal goals, routines that excite you, hobbies that feed your soul, you send a subtle but powerful message. I want love, but I don't need it to survive. That distinction is everything. Need creates pressure, it creates dependency, it makes love feel like an obligation, but want, that's where freedom lies. When someone knows that you're with them by choice, not out of loneliness or fear, the connection becomes deeper and more genuine. In contrast, when you place all your happiness in the hands of another person, you unintentionally create an imbalance. You lean too heavily. You wait for texts with bated breath. You pause your own life waiting for validation, attention, or reassurance. And over time, that dynamic doesn't feel romantic. It feels heavy. No one wants to carry the emotional weight of someone who isn't investing in themselves. But when you show up with your own spark, your own ambition, and your own joy, you become someone others admire, not someone they feel responsible for. Being self-sufficient doesn't mean being cold or disconnected. It simply means you've built a life that feels good with or without someone in it. You've cultivated emotional independence, and ironically, that independence makes others want to be closer to you, not to fix you, but to be part of something strong and inspiring. You become a person of value, not because you're constantly trying to be needed, but because you've proven that your time, your energy, and your presence are already valuable on their own. This is what makes someone stop and take you seriously. Not your willingness to give up your life for them, but your ability to invite them into a life that's already alive, purposeful, and worth sharing. In the end, being truly valued in a relationship isn't about trying harder to please or stretching yourself thin to prove you're worth loving. It's about anchoring yourself in a place of deep self-worth and unwavering standards. When you know who you are and what you deserve, you stop chasing the approval of people who treat you like an afterthought. Instead, you become someone who naturally commands respect. You stop operating from a place of fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, and you start operating from a place of confidence. That's when everything shifts. That's when you stop begging to be seen and start being chosen. At the core of all genuine connection lies a balance of investment. When you're doing all the emotional labor, all the initiating, all the chasing, it doesn't deepen the bond, it dilutes it. But when you allow the other person to show up, to participate, to invest, you create a space where mutual effort can flourish. That's how true appreciation grows, not because you were always available, but because they had to earn your presence. You become someone they feel connected to, not out of convenience, but out of commitment and shared emotional investment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is take a step back. Not to punish, not to withdraw love, but to create space for them to reflect, space for you to reconnect with yourself, and space for the relationship to either grow stronger or reveal its true nature. Your absence can often be the loudest reminder of your worth. It creates clarity in a way that constant presence never could. And if someone realizes what they had when you're no longer around every second, that awakening can be the catalyst for a more conscious, respectful connection. If they don't, you've lost nothing, you've only returned to yourself, and perhaps most importantly, the greatest form of power you hold is in building a life so rich, so vibrant, and so fulfilling, that love becomes a beautiful addition, not a desperate need. You become a person of value because you live with purpose. You stop waiting for someone else to give your life meaning, and instead, you become the one who adds meaning wherever you go. That is what makes someone truly value you, not your sacrifices, not your availability, not your constant giving, but your unshakable understanding of your own worth. When you live from that place, you attract people who see it and treat it with the reverence it deserves. If something in this message spoke to your heart, inspired a shift in your mindset, or gave you clarity in your relationships, then my goal has been fulfilled. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What part resonated most with you? Your story might just help someone else on their journey too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. It helps the channel grow and allows us to keep creating meaningful content just for you. Until next time, take care of your heart, honor your worth, and remember, you are already enough. Thank you, and goodbye for now.